What's up, guys? I have been gathering information to make this video for a while now. For all of you that know me, know that I am not a great speaker. I am not seeking fame, or I am not in need of attention. I have seen what happens to people who seek the truth outside of the mainstream media, and to those who find truth in the corruption from within the people who pledge to protect us. The ones seeking truth are laughed at, made fun of, threatened, imprisoned, and even killed. Lies are told. People research the past of truth seekers and expose a manipulated past to destroy the character and credibility of these people. I have seen where I have been made fun of myself by the people that's closest to my heart for discovering the things that I have discovered. But it is from my heart that has led me to the position where I feel the urgency to release information of what has and is leading the blind to complete destruction. This message comes from love and concern for those I love, and to those people who are open to a reality that they can't see, that may have evil tactics and programming, which has become the reality for us all. You will notice that I will be looking at the screen more than I am the camera for the purpose of knowing the psychological warfare and the opposition I am up against. If I am looking at you and stumble with my words or emotion shows through facial expressions, then distraction alone can disrupt this message, in which I'm stumbling with words and not even looking at you. I need to start with explaining or reminding you of where deception comes from and the power this deception holds. In 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 3 and 4, it says, "But if our gospel is hid, it is hid from them that are lost." Verse 4, "In whom the God of this world hath blinded the minds of them that believeth not, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Christ, who is the image of God, should shine upon them." The God of this world. We know who this is. We all have dealt with his darkness. But do we really grasp the depth of his deception and what it really means to live in the world that belongs to him? Here's an example. Lucifer, the bright shining star, God's favorite creation at the time the angels were created. He was made the anointed cherub, which meant he was throne guardian. When Lucifer found out about the divine plan to create humanity, in which was to be above angels, Lucifer was jealous and angry. He wanted to be the Most High. Whispering in the angels' ears, he convinced a third of God's creations that they could defeat the Almighty and take his throne and rule the kingdom of heaven. Now that's deception beyond belief. Nimrod, he had the same desire as Lucifer. He wanted to be as God. And above all, he had his people believing they were going to build a tower to reach into the heavens. They all united and began the task of building Babel. God was observing. He seen that with their unity, they would exceed their limitations. He confused their language and caused division. Speaking different languages, they spread throughout the world without the completion of Babel. Satan remembered this tactic and waited on the time to use this against God's creation of humanity. Now, let's look at the beginning of the English language. In the 5th century, 3 Germanic tribes crossed the Northern Sea from northern Germany to invade Britain and pushed out the Celtic speaking inhabitants. The tribes had similar language, so they put together Old English, a language we wouldn't understand today. Old English went from 450 AD to 1100 AD. In 1066, a new conqueror, William the Conqueror, the Duke of Normandy, invaded and conquered England. They brought with them a kind of French language. So French became the language of of the royal court and the ruling and business classes. Lower class spoke English. In the 14th century, English became a dominant language with a few French words. This was Middle English from 1100 to 1500 AD. From 1500 to 1800 is early modern English. They shortened the vowel pronunciation, giving words different sounds. From 1800 to present is late modern English. The British Empire covered a quarter of the Earth's surface, picking up a lot of foreign words from many different countries. Around 1600, the English colonization of North America became the American variety of English. And these 4 translations, or 5 if you count the American translation of English, but in each time, the meanings of many of these words changed as well as the language did. Now the King James Version. King James has been held up as inspired and authorized as authorized by God version. It was created in 1611 after a council meeting with religious figures of England after King James had taken the throne after Queen Elizabeth died. He got the finest language scholars of England, and it was to be reviewed by the bishops and royal authorities. King James insisted that it was to remain the same as the original from Latin to English. The original Latin Vulgate was based off of many texts interpreting the Greek manuscript, which wasn't available at this time. Many Christians at this time believed it was inspired by Satan at the Alexandria court, the Roman Empire instead of God. The King James Version made a large impact on the Western world and is a part of the blueprint in becoming America. If you believe the history that the school teaches and the reasons of Thanksgiving celebrations, then a lot of things I am and will speak of will either be a shock to you or you will stop watching out of disbelief. Alright, now I'm going to touch on some tougher subjects to talk about. The letter J. The letter J didn't come to the English alphabet until the 17th century, and still today doesn't exist in the Greek or Hebrew alphabet. Every Christian prayer is said in the precious name of Jesus Christ. The Messiah's name in Hebrew is Yoshua. In Greek, it's Yeshua, both having God and Savior in it. Latin translation is Iesus. Then the English translation is Jesus, finding no meaning in either of these other than the translation from Greek. The prefix JE I have found to mean domain, and the suffix SUS meaning pig. Acts chapter 4 verse 12 says, "Neither is there salvation in any other, for there is none other name under heaven given among men, whereby we must be saved." Does God give authority to men to translate the Messiah's name in different languages? Does God accept the language of English? Many people, including myself, consider this country to be the new Babylon. Therefore, the language would be the Babylonian. Maybe God does accept this, and maybe He does accept this translation. We know God knows the heart, but I don't want to chance my eternity on a maybe. There's another issue containing the name of Christ, and that's Christmas. 2 Timothy chapter 4 verse 3 and 4 says, "For the time will come when they will not endure some sound doctrine, but after their own lust shall heap to themselves teachings having itching ears, and they shall turn away their ears from the truth, and shall be turned unto fables." Christmas came from the 5th century Roman Catholic Mass, the celebration of the birthday of Sol, the sun god, actually an ancient rite of Baalism, which the Bible condemns as the most abominable of all the idolatrous worship. In Luke chapter 2 verse 8 it says, They were in the same city, shepherds abiding in the field, keeping watch over their flock by night. This being on the night Christ was born, showing it couldn't have been in winter. The shepherds always brought their flock in by the middle of October to keep them safe from cold, rainy winter, and which was common in those days and even today. Many ancient writings speak of another god whose birthday is on this day, December 25th, Nimrod, who married his mother, Semiramis. Semiramis claimed a full-grown, evergrown tree spring forth overnight from a dead tree stump, and Nimrod would visit this tree every year on his birthday, leaving gifts symbolizing a springing forth unto new life of the dead Nimrod. Semiramis became the Babylonian queen of heaven, and many other names in which represent this country better than any other. Baal, the son of God, being one of the many names, and Nimrod was the son of Baal. But the worship of the mother and child became worldwide. The suffix "mus" in English means festival involving feast. Picture this. We wake up early in the morning on December 25th. We go with our kids to the Christmas tree and watch them bow down before a pagan god to receive gifts. And then we go feast. So now let's talk about the feast. There's a company out of California called Cinemex. They use aborted baby tissue as artificial flavor in many food products. A few are PepsiCo, Nestle, Kraft, and some beauty products. These alone cover a lot of our food products, but Cinemex is the only one I could find being exposed, but probably has been going on for a very long time in Satan's world. We have free will, freedom of choice, I know. But if we buy with money created by the evil of the world, food that is supplied by the satanic bloodline governments of the world, and don't research the product we are buying, then we make our choice. The similarities between this country and Babylon are next to the same. Looking at the Statue of Liberty, I bet there hasn't been much research on this or the many demonic statues around the White House, even in the state of Alabama. Statue of Liberty, Columbia, Baal, Semiramis, whore Babylon. I know our hearts don't represent this evil, but who we put our trust in does. Most of what we are taught in schools are lies and programs grooming us for the mind control that enslaves us to the ruler of the world. Our time is occupied with our careers, our work, video games, technology, family disputes, and so on and on. But with our mind being occupied, we don't get the chance to think about the reality that we live in. I began this false awakening with Trump and Q, started a few years ago. And a little over a year, I had some health issues and had to take off work and was out of work for a while. And during this time I was out, the enemy seen my research, especially since the majority of it was on the web, and the web is a creation to fulfill the evil agenda. And I believe most of us have figured that out. The evil of this world began working against me and eventually forced me back into the workforce, but not before I was awakened. And once you are awake, you can't go back to sleep. Alright? Well, like I said, I started my awakening with Trump and QAnon. Let me talk about that. And they was making it clear that QAnon's relationship with Trump by posting pictures from Air Force One and communication between the two of them through secret messages, which is what the Masons also do. They was exposing so much corruption in the government that it was unbelievable how they could do this under our noses. I decided to do research on Trump, and the things I found was proof that he was no different than any of the other presidents before him. He is a Mason. He was bought and put into office by the Rothschild, the very same ones he claims to be taking down. The people surrounding him are Jesuits, the fake Jews, and his family history was relationships with Rockefeller, in which the Trump empire began. His relationship with Israel and the desire to rebuild the temple, in which we will begin the synagogue of Satan. In 1881, Baron Rothschild led the Jews out of Russia into his creation of Israel, where it is now controlled by the secular Jews, the Zionists, the Jesuits, the bloodlines in which rule the world. I will have to speak about the bloodline of Satan on another video on another day, but it's not spoken of because of the misinterpretations of the language. Trump, as well as the other presidents, had the same lineage to the same bloodlines. I believe another great deception is on the rise. Trump is going to arrest many of the evil of this government, maybe even execute them, because there's been talk of military tribunals. All of the people who don't trust him now will likely fall in line behind him and be open to a new world order, and won't even recognize the mark of the beast, for they are expecting a physical mark, a chip, a tattoo, something that can be seen, while accepting the spiritual mark, in which only the end-time saints and the Almighty can see. Now, taking my word will be the same as all the other fallen have done it before us in the past. So I ask you to do your own research, make your own decisions, but do it with the understanding of who the enemy really is. But I love you guys, and I hope to hear back from you.